amazing to see that none of them water back. They're doing all-out exercises, and in her case, we talk about the difficulty relative to women's gymnastics. She does more difficult routines than most men even attempt.
Exactly. Now watch this dismount. Takes a lot of endurance. Double back. You'd never know that was the end of her routine. She really has great endurance to finish that strong. Now watch this first tumbling run. Very few female gymnasts tumble this well. It's a full twisting double back. Now watch the landing. Not a movement at all. She sticks it solid. Now look at this middle run. This left me completely speechless when I saw it. It's a pike 1 3/4 somersault. You never see female gymnasts do that move. It's a top-level move, even for the men.
This is my new friend, Tim Daggett.
She had a little less trouble with her English than she did turning on the microphone.
And of course, she introduced a good friend of mine also, Tim Daggett, my gold medal teammate from the '84 games.
You know, one of the things that has amazed me about gymnasts in general is the strength of the gymnasts, and comparing them to other athletes like football players or wrestlers or something like that. How would you compare the strength?
Well, one very important characteristic of a great gymnast is have fantastic body weight to strength ratio. You'll find that many of these top athletes in gymnastics can bench press twice their body weight. Not very many athletes can do that. Tim's blasting through his exercise, with finish with a nice double back.
You know, Charlie, the U.S. team has nicknamed Tim the Bull, not only because of his strength, but because he's so aggressive in competition.
Okay, you've explained that pretty well, Kathy. Arina Baraksanova of the Soviet Union, balance beam champion, and she is going to perform on the beam right now.
Arina is beautiful on this event. There's that round-off mount again. Become very popular. That layout chest draw. She has great presence on beam. Aerial walkover. Nice high kicks. She shows good flexibility. The leap series. Very appropriate music in the background. Two back handsprings, layout step out. You can't do it any better than that. It's a nice combination. She'll show just a little bit of flexibility here.
Just a little, huh?
As I said earlier, she's got all the qualities that are necessary to make a great gymnast, and one that's going to last.
16 years of age.
So many good years ahead of her. And the dismount, double back.
Marks now with Tim Daggett.
Spending a week with the Soviet athletes has to be a good experience. What kinds of things are you learning from these athletes?
Well, they do so many things so well, like a particular skill on the horizontal bar, Tkachev. They do it superior to everyone in the world, and their entire team does it that way. So just by seeing it every day and being able to go up right after them and try to duplicate what they're doing, it's been a great benefit for me.
You've had great success, a couple of medals from the Olympic Games. You know what it's like to work hard. Is it possible these guys work any harder?
I think they work very hard. I think the key, the reason why they're better than we are at this point is that they have a lot of top athletes training together. They come together with the best athletes in the entire Soviet Union, and it's a competition every day, and therefore they can work a little harder. No one wants to get beat, ever. And if you can have that competitive aspect in the gym every day, you're going to get better.
Thank you very much, Bart and Tim, and we'll be back in just a moment with, among other things, one of the most exciting high bar performers in the world. Breaking the action, I'd like to talk to Kathy and Bart a little bit about what you've been able to observe. The Soviets appear to be hot. Your observations?
Well, the Soviets just completed their national championships a few weeks ago, so we're seeing them in their top shape. They look great, and especially they are on today.
You know, I'll be the first one to admit, too, so many times we go on exhibition tours, we water back, we don't do the big level gymnastics. Having the Soviets here is really putting the pressure on the Americans to do all the tricks, to do the stuff you have to do to be competitive on a worldwide scale.
Okay, Kathy, Bart, let's get back to the action.
The co-winner with Irina Baraksanova of the Mixed Pairs Championship and champion of this year's American Cup. Would you please welcome Alexei Tikhonki.
Alexei Tikhonki from the Soviet Union. And they say the root of his name means the quiet one.
He says we have to ask his friends whether that is really true, but I tell you, when it comes to high bar, there are very few gymnasts that are this aggressive. A full pirouette right to inverted giant swings. Now watch these release moves. Reverse act. Right to a giant swing. Another reverse act. Right to a kinger. Those are the toughest release moves you can do, and he does them all right after the other.
Bart, remember the days when one release move was sufficient?
Look at that! A triple back, and he made it easily.
Alexei Tikhonki from the Soviet Union.
Let's look again at the 3 release moves he does here. There's a reverse act. He's going to catch and push back. One giant swing. Set up the next one. Reverse act. Now, as soon as he catches, he sets up the tap to do a ginger, a flyaway with a half twist and regrasp. Great combination.
Would you welcome 20-year-old Soviet team member Valentin Mogilny.
Valentin Mogilny, 20 years old from the Soviet Union, working on the pommel horse. Bart?
He is one of my favorite gymnasts. I think of all the up-and-coming gymnasts, he is going to have longevity because look at the extension. Not only is it a very difficult exercise, but there is perfect form.
And what makes it even more interesting, he scored a 9.95. That's as close to a 10 as you can get in the recent scoring competition.
Those are flared circles, and he did what he called a spindle flare on the end. It is so difficult to do that element. You know, in gymnastics, a complete exercise is supposed to contain 12 parts of value. I'll bet he's done 20 parts of value, every one of them being very difficult. That is a master of the pommel horse.
Valentin Mogilny from the Soviet Union. Fine performance on the pommel horse.
On still rings, this one's for you, ladies. Here's Mr. Muscles, Mike Rice.
Mike Rice, currently living in Norman, Oklahoma, somewhere near you, right, Bart?
Actually, Mike and I trained together for a couple of years at Oklahoma. He's great on the rings here.
Who's this year's Big 8 Conference all-around champion.
He does the strength moves right at the beginning. The cross, the front lever, the press to handstand. Now watch this next move. Double whip it to a double whip it. 2 of them in a row. Original skill. Now full twisting double with 1 step on the landing. It's a good exercise.
Mike Rice, 22 years old from Norman, Oklahoma.
Now we've seen these double whippets before, but what makes this combination interesting is that he does them 2 in a row. So it's a double whippet. Right to a back uprise handstand. Original combination.
On the horizontal bar, Vladimir Gogolatsa.
Vladimir Gogolatsa, working on the high bar from the Soviet Union, 19 years of age.
He starts his exercise with the stalder. And here goes the release moves. Reverse act, right to a kinger. Those are tough, and he did them right on.
You're loving this, aren't you?
I tell you, one thing that all gymnasts have is a respect for each other's abilities, because it is an individual sport, and you're out there on your own. And if a guy can do that level of skill, I know how hard he's worked to get to that point. Look at this, 1, 2, 3, triple back. That is one of the most difficult exercises in the world, and he does it as if no big deal.
Vladimir Gogolatsev, the Soviet Union.
It becomes complicated to watch.
Now these are the same release moves that were done earlier in the performance by Tikhonki, but he's going to do all three of them, one right after the other. Reverse act, right to a Ginger. Perfect.
And as you know, Bart, the high bar is the most spectacular event in men's gymnastics, and what this exhibition is providing is a demonstration of dismounts from the high bar, going from the very easiest to the most difficult.
One of the things that gymnasts all agree on is that the high bar dismounts are probably the most fun for us to do. So the gymnasts are going to put on a little display here. This is Yefim Furman. He's the assistant coach at UCLA, and he does your basic layout flyaway, a very simple dismount.
The next young man you're watching is Brian Babcock. He looks like he's a little uncertain as to how many he's going to do.
I think they're just clowning around because this really is fun for the guys. They just cast up into giant swings and pop a dismount. Here's a laid out double back. Now that's a D move. That's one of the higher level difficulty moves. But now what these guys are going to do is add some twists onto these dismounts and make them more difficult.
This is Vladimir Artyomov from the Soviet Union.
He stems up into giant swings, picks up some speed for his dismount. That's a full twisting double with a perfect landing.
And the progression gets even harder with Dan Hayden.
Dan does a very interesting dismount because most of the gymnasts are coming off of a back giant directly out at a 45-degree angle from the dismount. In this case, Dan is going to do his dismount not coming towards us now, but he's going to go back over the top of the bar with a full twisting double right there and land on the other side of the bar.
Dan Hayden on that dismount. The next young man is Tim Daggett from UCLA, in grad school there at UCLA.
Now Tim's going to show us the dismount that he stuck in the summer of '84 that helped us clinch the title against the Chinese in the Olympic Games. This is a laid out full twisting double back. Good speed in the giant swing. There's two flips and one twist. Good dismount.
And that familiar Olympic smile of Tim Daggett. Alexander Tumilovich of the Soviet Union.
Now he's going to do a similar dismount in that it has two flips, but he's not going to do it in laid out position, and he's going to add one more twist. So it's a double twisting, double flip in the tuck position. And a perfect stick.
You enjoy these, don't you?
Oh, I love it. I tell you, I'd love to be out there cutting some dismounts with these guys right now if I could.
Yuri Balabanov of the Soviet Union.
Now he's going to do a dismount that's completely different than the other gymnasts because most of them are releasing and doing back flipping dismounts. He's going to do a forward flipping dismount. There's a half turn here out of a stalder. Now he's going to flip forward here, ducks under, double flip with a 1.5 twist. Very difficult dismount.
And as we continue with our progression of dismount difficulty, if you would like to call it that, we go with Brian Ginsberg.
Brian is what we call a great flipper. He knows how to flip a triple flip so easily, and he knows where he is at all times. He lands like a cat. Look at the speed he picks up here on a dismount. Ready, 1, 2, 3, and easily finishes a triple flip before he lands.
Brian Ginsberg with that last dismount. And our last demonstrator, Alexei Tikhonki of the Soviet Union.
We saw him earlier do a triple flip. He's going to do another one here. His is a little different from most of the other gymnasts in that when he grabs his tuck, he grabs on top of his knees. You can see 1, 2, 3, and he does it very easily.
And there you had the progression from the more easier moves like a simple layout to the triple back by Alexei Tikhonki. Now coming up, a gymnast whose enthusiasm and fun is famous all over the world and whose most receptive audience is other gymnasts.
Our final appearance of Paulette Hantanova.
Well, we told you that something different was coming up. Let's take a look right now. It is different.
I've seen Paulette perform many, many times all over the world, and I never get tired of seeing this. Great music. I don't know how he does that.
It's a good thing he's a great gymnast himself. I don't know how he can do those acrobatic skills and wipe out so gracefully. This is actually Paul Hunt, who was a national champion in men's floor exercise about 15 years ago.
What's great about this routine is he's taking parts out of some very famous gymnast routines and making light of them.
Including yourself, right?
That's right. About 2 or 3 years ago, he came to me and asked me to teach him part of my routine. And he performed many parts of a routine I did to Swan Lake. It was the most hysterical thing I've ever seen. Now this is incredible. I don't know how he keeps from getting sick.
I tried that once, talking about being dizzy.
Or either having your right arm shorter than the other one, right?
Now watch this. Saying a little prayer before he goes into the tumbling run. And of course, you have to have a change in music. He wasn't expecting that one.
Do you recognize yourself yet, Kathy?
Not yet. Now, to gymnasts, that was very funny because we're all the time trying to keep up with our music or go with the music.
And two of the Soviet gymnasts finding it very, very funny. Irina Baraksanova on the left and Oksana Avyakova on the right.